Hello, my friends. Today we're talking about the basic card measurements that you're going to need for all my simple sketches. These give you everything that you need to have your own card making kit ready to go. We talked about how to create card bases, and if you need more of that, I will link the video below. But I've got my card bases now from my thick basic white. And let me bring one over. Here is a card base. It started out at 8.5 by 11. Now it's 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So there is basically my canvas. This is where I'm going to work. You notice my trimmer is front and center. Yep, that's the next step. Now, if you've watched anything with me, this is a simple sketch, and it shows you a simple card, right? Well, if you use some of these other measurements that I give you, you can step this up just a little bit. So your card goes from that to this. Notice how it highlights my pattern paper. It gives it a frame, so it really pops off the page. It gives me room to put some ribbons underneath. So it goes from being kind of flat to really popping it up. It looks complicated. How do you get that just the right size? Well, I'm going to show you. Let me move these. We are going to build our very own collection of these. Now you look at these and you think, holy moly, that sounds like a lot of measuring. It kind of is, but you only have to do it once and then save this. I like to punch a little hole and put it on a ribbon or a ring, and then I have this. Notice on the back, I wrote all the sizes. I will have these for you down below so that you can do it. It looks kind of, this is the mathy part, but that's why you do this ahead of time, so that when you go to make your card, your brain's not doing all this. All right, so let's start first. We're talking about paper that comes in 8.5 by 11. Stampin' Up's cardstock comes in two sizes, 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 12. For card makers, 8.5 by 11 is what you want. If you do cards and scrapbooking, well, then maybe you want both. For me, I'm 8.5 by 11. So let's start with one. And I do this kind of like I prep my card bases, I prep my cardstock too. So when I get my pack, I take it in, I put it in here, and I cut it first at 4 1/4 down the long way. All right. Now I've got two pieces that are 4 1/4 by 11. I can cut these two together, and I'm going to put these at 5.5, and I'm going to cut them. Now I have 4 sheets. I do not do this with all my cardstock. I could, but that would be kind of a waste. I don't. I do this, and this is what I'm going to work with when I look at a sketch and I say, oh, that sketch says I need 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, well, right now I'm at, and this is again the mathy part. I promise this is the most mathy video you will watch from me. So 4 and 5 1/4 is a little bit smaller, but let me just show you something about this before we go any further. Remember, this is our card base. Look at this. It is the exact size of our card base. Huh, right? That's cool, but I kind of want like a little frame around it. So unless you measure and use the guides that I give you, you're going to be guessing. And it's really easy to get it off and not the way you want it. So I'm trying to keep this simple for you. First thing you're going to do is look at the sketch and see what it tells you. It will only be, I promise, it will only be one of these sizes. Any sketch you get from me will have one of these sizes. You won't have to try and make it up. All right. The other trick I want to show you is I cut my pattern paper as well. Well, of course, that comes in a different size. That comes in 12 by 12. Let me move my trimmer for a second. I've cut all my pattern paper here, but let's rebuild it. So pattern paper comes 12 by 12. It's going to actually be easier to see because I'm showing it to you in different patterns. Let's do this. Okay, So when I cut my pattern paper, I cut it into 3 strips of 4, all right? Then I go back in and I cut it at 5 1/4. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yep, 4 by 5 1/4. I'll have some little pieces left over. They are this size. Let me grab one. They are this size. These are great for adding a little tag or a little something. So hold on to them. But this is basically what you're working with. And then I just take all these, put them in a pile, and I'm ready to make a card. I have a 4 by 5 1/4 I can just grab, all right? So today, for this experiment, we're gonna work with these 2 pattern papers. And let's say, well, you know, I like that, but I kind of want a little bit of a frame around it. So I'm gonna take the 4 by 5 1/4, and that's just gonna give me the card base. Well, what if I want a little more than that? What can I do? I am going to take this. This is my first one. Let me grab my card again. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself without an actual card. Where's my base? Oh, here's one, sorry. Let's go with a card base. By the way, this happens to me all the time. Let's get a card base. And I want a 4 by 5 1/4 cardstock that's gonna give me a frame for my pattern paper, all right? Well, I cut all of mine, so I just need to cut it a little bit more. So let's get our trimmer in here. And we are gonna go with, this is 4 by 5 1/4, right? 1/4 of an inch is this little mark right here. Four by 5 1/4. Okay, right? So now, what's my pattern paper gotta be if I want it to be framed by that? Well, looky here. Here's my guide. It needs to be 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. That sounds really mathy, but it's not hard with a Stampin' Up! Trimmer. So 3 7/8. These are 16ths, so 2 of those is an 8, so it's almost a 4. So 3 7/8. Doo-doo. And then the other way is 5 1/8. Same deal. 2 little notches, 5 1/8, and look what we end up with. Perfect frame for our card, which now looks super fancy. That extra little just adds so much to your card. Now in this card sample, we said this was, our stamping space was 3 by 4. Okay, that's cool, but could we add a frame to that? We sure could. So let's grab our white, which we've also cut into the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but we don't need to cut it until we're ready. And we're gonna cut that to our stamping space that the sketch tells us, which is a 3 by 4. And then how do I figure out what do I want behind it? Well, I'm gonna look over here and I'm gonna say, oh, I want, let's see, how does that look? Ooh, I like that. That's a little bit bigger frame. That's kind of cool. Well, I like that. Do I like this? Ooh, I like that too. Oh, that's not big enough. So I decide I want this one, all right? So now I know this has to be 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Super simple. Grab this, go 3 1/2, 4 1/4, and now I can move my trimmer. I have built my card using these as my guide. And that's going to go just like that. Now I can really get my cards to look the way I want them to. This was good. This is better. So get your trimmer out, cut up your piece. Don't do all of these trims. Make yourself one nice set like this. I will write the sizes below for you to go ahead and cut them. Take a few minutes when it's quiet and cut these. Then put this to the side and save that in your toolkit. You're going to take your pattern paper and you're going to cut it into the large size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which will then be ready to go whenever you need it. If you cut them into the smaller size, it's just a lot of things to keep track of. This is pretty easy. And this, again, is kind of mindless, and you can cut this while you're watching TV. So when you look at one of my sketches, these are the basic things that I talk about. I talk about my pattern paper cut, I talk about my card bases, and I talk about your cardstock. Those are the only things that you need to have to build your own personal card kit, along with this little handy cheat sheet. Talk to you soon. Bye.